This is Fabtech 2022, Atlanta, Georgia. Going in. Jason Marburger is the founder of Fireball Tools, and the cool thing about it is he was a fabricator who got fed up of trying to build everything with a speed square and a framing square, and so he came up with very unique and super useful tools. Practically every square that he has you can clamp to. Simple innovations like these precision machined magnetic shims. Think about how useful those would be. He also designed his own heavy-duty vise. Very impressive. Here's a cutaway of that vise just so you can see the inner workings of it. I thought that was pretty genius. Jason himself is definitely a genius. One of his most recent products is this wide base square that you can clamp to.
Sold! Sold! Yeah. I know that voice.
CK is showing off their new MT375. It's kind of like the 200 amp, but a lot more amperage. What do you think?
I've never used a glass cup before. That was the whole reason I really wanted to try it out. It's nice.
They always have a nice display of all kinds of different TIG torches for practically every application you could imagine. Pencil torches, FlexLock 360 torches for both 2 and 300 series, amperage control, torch mounted stuff, momentary button, rotary track, oversized flood cups. They got you covered pretty well. I remember using a small micro torch like this, getting in between some vanes on an aircraft engine part one time. Comes in handy when you need it. This is their wire feeder unit. I tell you what, if you got a lot of parts to do or long linear runs, you don't want to make stops and starts, it can really be worthwhile. We've all seen those handheld laser videos all over YouTube. They zip together a stainless lap joint in about 3 seconds. I went inside the booth and got a nice demo on this unit. I got a lot of content to share later if there's interest. This is a stainless butt joint. This is real time, not slowed down, not sped up. Probably could be going a little bit faster. This is 16 gauge aluminum. Just kind of dragging it alongside of a chill bar there. But the interesting thing about this is once the joint is done like this, we got nice heat tint on there. But just changing the settings and changing the tip, we can do an etch pass and remove all that discoloration really quickly. No chemicals involved, just with a light, low setting, a defocused beam I suppose, removes all that heat tint. There are also chemical passivation type tools. One of them is the TIGBrush. Uses a low current along with some solution to remove heat tint very quickly from a stainless steel weld. This is very common in food service industries because it removes oxides and free iron from the surface, which might cause rust or corrosion later on.
I got 2 of them. Hopefully
It's slow to boot up.
there you go.
I was walking by the OTC booth and ran into this guy. This is Rush Kane, also known as Kane Kid on Instagram. He's got a co-branded machine with OTC. Rush is a very deep thinker when it comes to TIG welding, so he had a few things that he definitely wanted to see on this machine, and low amp starts was one of them. So I think he said it'll start at 1 amp on DC and 3 amps on AC. So much background noise you can't really hear that nice little snap start, but it's a nice crisp low amp start. Here's Rush doing his thing. I timed this just for kicks, and he's going about 6 inches per minute travel speed. So the point is, you don't want to weld stainless cold and slow. It's fun running into old friends at Fabtech. Not every booth had an area where you could try out machines, but Fronius did. Fronius has always got some pretty good high technology stuff. This new thing from them is called TIG Dynamic Wire. It's pretty cool. It's an automatic wire feed. It's a cold wire feed, but it's got some technology where it senses when you go over a tack to even things out.
That's cool. That's cool.
But it sets itself completely, all based off of amperage and then your travel speed. So it's looking for that closed circuit. So if you pick up travel speed and lose the puddle, it'll pick up that wire feed speed and keep it.
Harder to dip the tungsten. We make it easier to replace the tungsten when you do dip it. So just like a mechanical pencil, you push this button, tungsten comes right out.
My closest competitor on this magnet weighs 200 pounds heavier than me and requires 1.5 inches material to get full saturation. I'm 39 pounds. I need 3/8 to get full saturation.
Can I take a video of that video on your phone?
I can text it to you.
Okay.
Insane.
StrongHand Tools always has a good booth. This is one of their larger, heavier duty tables. They've got tables starting at really small ones for a small shop. They've got tables that will rotate your part with a brake on it. And even have a Cobot station, which is something going around Fabtech, a big theme this year. Lots of Cobots built on little platforms like this for small production runs. Once you use some modular fixturing with a table that's flat and indexed and has the ability to clamp parts down and all kinds of different tooling fits it, it's kind of hard to go back to just a slab of steel. This small Rhino cart even has a little cutting grate attachment on the end there for plasma cutters and oxy-fuel. Get stuff true and flat, it's hard to beat a fixture table. TIGTIG and Intertest Camera were sharing a booth.
Well, you guys will up your game, hadn't you? This looks better than I have seen before from anybody.
This is Intertest welding camera, and they use a lot of technology to make sure that puddle and arc are visible and don't get washed out. The TIGTIG process is a slight variation of TIG. It uses a hot wire feed. That means it's got a little bit of current on it. And it kind of joggles the wire back and forth to break surface tension. And what that does is it allows a lot of deposition, even on the root pass. You're going to see a pretty heavy root pass here. And with a heavy root pass, you're not going to suck back the root pass, and it's just a lot less passes to fill up a pipe joint like this. It does have other applications because that breaking the surface tension feature can definitely limit heat input. The word Cobot comes from collaborative robot. It's supposed to bridge the gap between a fully automated robotic welding cell and manual welding. Cobots are supposed to be much easier to program, much less expensive. They're actually getting fairly affordable for mid-sized shops. I know this, I saw a lot of them. They were kind of taking over the show. There's a Cobot on every corner. And the word I got from talking to different booths is it's getting hard to find a skilled worker who wants to work 40 hours a week. Folks my age are used to a whole lot more than 40 hours a week. We didn't necessarily like it, but we did it. But it's just a different world we're living in today. So, rather than fight the tide, you've got the Cobots coming on the scene. A lot of them are set up on a fixture table, and this one here is outfitted with a MK positioner turntable. FLEXTURE has a Made in America product line, also their version of a Cobot. These are tab and slot type fixturing tables with laser cut holes, so it's not machine finished, it's not quite as precision as something like a Build Pro table, but flat enough for a lot of welding applications. These laser cut holes have just a little more slop in them than one that's machined, but they still bite, they still work. Cobots, laser welding, laser cutting, additive manufacturing are some of the newer technologies at Fabtech. I'll be digging in more to Cobots very shortly because they're not going to go away. So I want to find out who would be best served by having a Cobot. Stay tuned. I always seem to visit the Aquasol booth. They have soluble purge dams, purge bladders. They also have little packets, these easy wipes that are acetone-free wipes, and purge tape. Socket welds need a gap, and that's a big problem in the industry because if they don't have a gap, oftentimes they'll crack out. This is a way to ensure you got the right gap. They have steel ones and soluble ones. Their purge monitor is very interesting. This is a new product they have. They've been selling purge monitors for a long time, but this one has an app that goes with it. You can also put a monitor on the shop floor wall. This is for high alloys like stainless steel, duplex, mainly titanium. This particular monitor will go down low enough on the parts per million for titanium. Now, I've welded an awful lot of titanium inside a chamber with nothing but a test strip. That's the old method. But to comply with NADCAP and things like that these days in aerospace, you got to be able to prove that your purge atmosphere is right, got the right parts per million, and this will document on your phone, on the app, or on the computer interface. I visited Weiler Abrasives to check on offering some of these on my store. I've heard some good things about Weiler, not only about the abrasives, but about the culture of the company, being a family-owned company and whatnot. I can relate to that. There is a slang term for this little rock here. If you know, you know. It's been a long time since I used a big rock like this. Grinding beads off of big, long seams on plates. That's where a lot of accidents happen. So Weiler has come up with this virtual reality grinding training game of sorts. I didn't learn a whole lot about it. It's the first thing I've seen like it. So you've got to select the right abrasive, you got to select the right guard, and kind of trains you to do things properly. As long as I can remember, at every Fabtech I've ever been to, I've seen this big inflatable torch. It's WeldTec. You've seen me use their Speedway torch along with a couple others. Quality torches, lots of options. Their iHead series gives you a whole lot of options. The Speedway series is a unique shaped handle. It kind of comes in handy for when you want to rotate the torch on round parts. For some reason, the turntables and positioners always catch my eye, because I know that once you get to a certain point in either a side hustle or a small business, a turntable, a positioner is on your list. So I'm going to be checking into these models from Profax very soon, getting some pricing. I've heard some good things, but I've just got to make sure, dig into it a little bit deeper. This is sawblade.com. Pretty cool little small bandsaw there, sort of a hybrid bandsaw chop saw. Takes up very little space. I'm looking to add to the abrasive line over at weldmonger.com. That's my store, so I checked out lots of booths like Norton. Big variety of grinding wheels. I've used Norton for years. Most of us have. Another one is United Abrasives. I'm trying to get a good assortment that not only are the highest quality, but also have a line that are kind of economical. You know, not necessarily the best of the best, but really a really good value anyway. Stopped off at the Metabo booth, and speaking of good value, their Slicer Plus 6-inch cutting wheels on a 6-inch Metabo are hard to beat. The welding lathes catch my eye every time. If you've got the right kind of work, having a headstock and a tailstock and a torch mount is a game changer. It's amazing what they can do with additive manufacturing, building parts with nothing but weld metal. I believe this is titanium here, because the end part that they had on display sure appeared to be titanium. Sigmund had a whole lot of weld tables up there with all their tooling. This is another option for larger tables. They also make smaller ones, but this is some nice stuff here. Uniweld makes all kinds of tips for oxy-fuel torches. One of the ones I've always been interested in trying is this little one right here. It looks like a hook of a pirate's hand or something like that. But these tips have multiple flames, and so it's easy to braze and solder tubing. A product I've been thinking about adding to the store for a long time is a stick welding whip that's super light duty and super flexible. There's no need in carrying a big heavy cable right up to the electrode holder. If you've never been to a Fabtech before, I highly encourage you to go, because it's anything and everything to do with welding and fabrication, all under one roof in one venue, like-minded people. It'll give you a shot in the arm. You'll see what's up in the industry, do a little networking. You never know where it'll lead to. That's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, I'd really appreciate it if you'd visit my store at weldmonger.com. That's how I support these videos. We've got lots of TIG accessories, tungsten, TIG cups, TIG cup kits, and videos on what works with what torch. If you hang around just a minute, you'll see one of those videos. It should clear up some of the confusion. Have you been thinking about an 8 clear cup or other Furic cup, but not quite sure it'll fit your torch? This quick video should help clear things up. Let's do it. When you're looking to upgrade from the standard hardware that comes with most TIG torches, maybe to something like this, a Furic 8 Pro cup, you want to be sure that it will fit your particular torch. Well, fortunately, there's a pretty easy way to tell. These are all 17, 18, and 26 style torches, various different manufacturers, but the one way to tell is if your hardware looks like this, where your collet body is almost 2 inches long, you have a 17, 18, or 26 style torch. Could be any of them. Doesn't really matter. This Furic adapter kit for 17, 18, 26 style torches will make the Furic cups work with your torch, if that's what you have. That's another picture of it there. It's got 2 black insulators that come with it. Slightly different. One of them will fit. Now, there's nothing really wrong with the standard hardware that comes with them. It's a bit long. The long tail is a bit long for real work. It's good for practice. Even when you shorten it up with a little button on the end, you can only shorten it up so much. But to get better gas shielding, as well as just shorten up the overall length of the torch, it really helps to use this adapter kit. And once you have the adapter kit, it opens up a lot of possibilities for using all kinds of different hardware, all kinds of different Furic cups and monster size cups, gas lens cups, clear cups, all kinds of things. This is an 8 Pro cup here. It's one of my favorite cups for just all around AC and DC work. And you can see it shrinks it quite a bit where you can get in some tight areas like up inside some square tubing or things like that where you might have to reach. 9 and 20 style torches are a little bit smaller. They use a smaller collet body, not even an inch long. So if your hardware looks like this, you've got a 9 or a 20 style TIG torch. Could be air cooled, could be water cooled. They both use the same hardware. The good thing about these torches is all you need to make the Furic cups work is this one little gas lens here. Here they are side by side, the standard collet body with the gas lens. And that is a part number 45V44 if you're getting the 332 size. They're typically sold in 2 packs. You can choose any size with the Furic 8 cup. I recommend a 332 as an all-around size. You can weld anything from razor blades to fairly thick aluminum with a 332 electrode at 200 amps. So you put the O-ring on the base of the gas lens, and that lets the number 8 clear Pro cup just slide right on there. And you're going to see lots of benefits, one of which is just much better gas shielding. The other thing that I really noticed is it just lights everything up way better for me, helps me see where I'm going. Helps me stay on track. To make things easy, I also put together a couple of combo kits where you get a clear cup as well as a pink ceramic alumina cup. There's a kit for 17, 18, 26 style torches and a kit for 9, 20 style torches just to make things convenient. All you need to do to swap cups is just remove the O-ring, and then you can put an alumina style cup on there when you need that. Now once you have the right hardware for your torch, it opens up a lot of options for both clear cups as well as ceramic cups. The clear ones will just slide on like this clear Jazzy 10. And you can see the gas coverage envelope there is just much larger than what you would get off a standard collet body. Your visibility is going to improve. You'll see way ahead of where you're going and behind. It just lights things up. It's like a light bulb. It's a tungsten up inside a clear cup, so it really is just like a light bulb. The ceramic cups, just remove the O-ring and they'll all fit on there too. So again, it really opens up the possibilities for you. Just getting the adapter kit or the 45V44, depending on which torch you have. So once again, if your hardware looks like this, you have a 17, 18, 26 style, and you need a Furic adapter kit to make the Furic cups work. If your hardware looks like this, you have a 920 style, and all you need is the 45V44 to make it work. And again, for convenience, once you know what style torch you have, you can just select one of these combo kits, and that will open up a lot of options for you. I did a short production run of fixtures a few years back using this cup, and I showed how that a certain size filler metal was only good up to a certain amperage range, and then it started giving you some problems. So at 140 amps here using 1/16 ER70 wire, it did fine. But going up to 170 to try to get a bigger fillet, you can see how that tip of that rod is balling up before I can ever get it into the puddle. It's working, it's just that it'll work even better if I increase the filler wire size. So in order to get the correct size fillet weld on here, I had to feed so much rod with the 1/16 that I wanted to jump up a little bit. So this is working much better. The tip of the rod no longer balling up and blobbing in the puddle. It's feeding in there nice, and I got a little bit larger size fillet weld, which is what I wanted. Sometimes it's really helpful to be able to look through a cup, depending on your perspective and the angle and where you have to position your head. And this 8 Pro cup, it'll not only light everything up, but sometimes you actually can see where your rod is feeding right through the cup. You don't always need that, but it is nice when you do need it. And a good example of when you need it is when you need to weld all the way around or both sides of a piece of angle. The outside's really easy, but the inside, sometimes you have to extend the electrode out to be able to see what's going on. So being able to look through the cup and see the tip of your electrode, see where exactly your filler rod is going, can be a big help. Even on welds that are on the bench right in front of you, nothing in the way, you don't need to look through the cup or anything like that. A clear cup can be very helpful in just lighting everything up and helping you see a little bit better. You really notice a difference when you switch back from a clear cup to a pink alumina cup. It's kind of like somebody dims the lights a little bit. Now, if you've got 23-year-old eyes and 20/20 vision or better even, and you can see everything, maybe you don't want to fool with a clear cup. But it really helps me. I'm not 23 anymore, and I can use a little help sometimes. Notice how it's lighting everything up around here. I can see several ripples behind and where I'm going. I hope you can see it as well as I can. I've tried to make this look just like it does under the helmet. Of course, there's a difference because this is what you're seeing here as a camera as opposed to through a helmet, but it's pretty dang close. A lot of people like to use a number 5 cup for aluminum, and it works great in some applications, especially on like a lap joint or an outside corner joint even, where you don't have to extend the electrode very far at all. And the joint actually helps kind of trap the shielding gas a little bit. So for a T-joint or a lap joint, it really works great. And you can see me here kind of raising the arc length a little bit as I add filler and as the height of the puddle grows a little bit. That keeps me from having to clean so many electrodes. So with a number 5 cup, you can get by with probably 12 to 15 CFH of shielding gas, which is kind of a savings sometimes. It's just not the best cup for every particular situation. And here's an example of where it's probably not the best cup. It's when you have to run a bead on an edge like this. You need a little bit more of an argon envelope and possibly some more stick out to where you can see what's going on. I'm just running a bead on this edge here to kind of simulate a filling in of a hole, sort of. You would run a bead maybe around the edge first, get that done, maybe let it cool for a second, and then come back and fill it in. Hole fill is a really common task in a welder's life. You know, whether it's repairing a pontoon or a rivet that wallered out, a rivet hole that wallered out or something like that. It's pretty easy, but it really helps to have really good shielding, and it can also help to be able to see through the cup. It could be kind of a slow go sometimes. You don't want to get in a hurry. And then when you get something like this finally filled up and sealed up, you might want to give it a few extra amps and kind of let it soak, let it sink in a little bit, kind of punch it in a little bit so it's not just barely sealed. And then when you're finished, taper off and swirl the arc around so that you don't leave a crater hole, crater crack. I use the 8 clear cup on a lot of different stuff. I leave it on the torch a lot of times because it's so versatile. Good for both aluminum and steel. All I need to do is kind of like swap electrodes out when I switch. A couple little quick changes on the welding machine and I'm good to go. A very good all-around cup for DC and AC. Here I'm coming up on terminating the arc on this little cube project. And once again, I swirl the arc as I taper off the amperage so that I don't leave a crater crack, which would be a leak in the case of if you're building a reservoir or something that needed to be airtight or watertight. For both AC and DC, whether you need to look through the cup or not, it does help light everything up, gives you good gas coverage, lets you use a longer than normal stick out, longer than you can without a gas lens, that's for sure. And the biggest benefit that for me at my age with my eyes is the way it just illuminates everything and lets me see where I'm going, lets me see the details of the puddle a little bit better, because it really does just kind of light everything up. I know I'm sounding like a broken record here, but I started off using these cups just so I could produce better welding videos. And now I use clear cups all the time.